Hey Earthlings, this is part 1 of 2 videos. We thought we would make some videos talking about our bike setups and what we have on them. And all the mods that we have done, more so. So get right into it. The first thing that you're probably looking at going, man, that looks good, is these forks. Yeah, so these Billet Mazzocchi 58s. Why are they on the bike? Now, the stock forks, they're fine. They're fine. They do the job if you're going to just be trail riding and, not sendy and hitting big jumps. They're fine. They're fine. They do the job. But the second you start sending it and start doing some decent jumps, they basically just give way. They can't handle it. I actually hydro-locked I hydro-locked one set, and then I had to move on to using Jared's set because he'd already done the fork upgrade by that time. So in my opinion, they're definitely worth it for what I do. They're not worth it if you don't send it hard on jumps, right? Or you're not a heavy bloke, right? If you're a heavy bloke, then they're probably definitely worth it because they're going to carry your weight better. But yeah, they look good. They handle well. In our opinion, the Fox 40s are probably a better shock. The only reason we say that is because Jared's got a Fox rear shock, and the adjustability and the customization is pretty awesome. So the Foxes are probably better, but you can't really go wrong, in my opinion, between the Bombers and the Fox 40s. They're both great. So that's why I'm running them, as well as they look good. They look good. That was my main reason. Everything on my bike has got to look truly good. It's got to be up to my spec of good. Just come up the forks here, bring your eyes up the forks up to here, right? This is where all the action happens, right? The bars, right? These here are 70mm riser bars. I'm still running the stock stem with just a 70mm rise. Why is that? There's dudes that like to run a direct mount stem. There's dudes that like to run direct mount stems that are got that much of a rise in them. What was the main reason for keeping that stem? Crashes. That's the main reason. Direct mount stems, 60 kilos coming down the top of your forks with a direct mount stem is probably going to wreck the top crown of your forks. And we'll also could bend the bars as well. But yeah, that's our main reason for having that stem style still on there, because I've crashed multiple times and the stem, if that wasn't able to move, I've had to, well actually today it happened. We were riding, I was just mucking around, dropped the bike, I was just doing some tight maneuvers and dropped the bike and the bars went like this. If I direct mount stem, that's pressure into my 1600 forks. Don't want that. So I keep the stock stem. 70mm rise, it's enough. And when I say it's enough for one thing and one thing only, in my opinion: wheel stands. That's it. That's the only reason why I like these bars. I liked the mountain bike bars that came on the bike. That to me felt fine. There's no reason to upgrade these bars other than it heightens your centre of gravity and puts you at a more slacker angle, which for a lot of people will be a lot comfier for them. So go the riser bars if you think that you're too crouched over and you want to be sitting up more, right? Definitely perfect for that. My reasoning is it makes you sit back better in a wheel stand. Simple as that. It's the same reason why stunt bike riders put clip-ons on their sports bikes. So they sit back better. Simple reason. Next thing, tyres. Right, you can see that I'm running 2 different tyres. Was that intentional? No. I wrecked the back tyre, so I just bought this Starcross that's on the back. It's a Michelin Starcross on the back and a Dunlop Battlecross on the front. Both great tyres, but in my opinion, just jump on your local motocross shop or whatever you want to buy motocross gear from. They are 100 by 70 19-inch tyres, and they're just the front tyre is what they are. I'm guessing made for pit bikes. So just jump on and buy whatever the heck you want, because in my opinion, it all works. Moving right along, as you can see here, I've still got the stock D&M rear shock. The only difference being I have got a Fox 550-pound spring on it. Now, is that enough? Sort of. It's a lot better from the stock shock. I'll say that. It feels a lot better straight away. It's better. Between 400 pounds and 550, it's nicer on those jumps. You got a bit more. Is it perfect? No, not at all. It's not perfect. I ride Jared's bike with the expensive rear Fox shock on it, and it feels awesome. It feels great. Coupled with the bombers at the front, you just glide over things. So it is one of those things that I'm wanting to upgrade to. I'm thinking probably the Fox float. Want to give that a go, see what that's like, something different. Yeah, that's on the to-do list, but that's a fine upgrade to do. I would do that, spend the $50 or whatever it is on a spring, do that first before you then go and spend $1,000 on the rear shock, right? Because that might be enough for you. Feels fine to me, but jumps I'd probably want a bit more comfiness, you know? Don't want to be hurting the old ankles every single time. Attached to that is the warp knife linkages, billet linkages, in the nice little shiny red that's coated, comes pre-coated with mud. It's this rear linkage is a rise of 0.75, so it lifts the whole back of the bike up, well, lifts the seat up, drops the rear swing arm, so you get a bit more travel out of the bike, right? It then basically levels out the bike with the forks. So in my opinion, it's sort of a necessary mod if you're going to do the front forks. And it looks good. It looks good. There was nothing wrong with the stock linkages. It just looked good, right? As well as obviously this linkage, as I just said, levels out the bike, gives you a little bit more travel or whatever. Yep, so moving right along to the drivetrain. I've got a nice red blingy 420 chain on there. It's red because it looks good, matches the bike. That's the only reason. It's a non-O-ring chain. They say that you're meant to have less losses with a non-O-ring chain. Apparently O-ring chains, you're meant to have a little bit of loss. Perks of an O-ring change, you don't have to oil it as much. This you pretty much have to oil after every ride, they say, or after every few rides. It's a chain. Right. Sprocket is a 56 tooth sprocket. Just gives you a little bit more poke at the start. It's not overly necessary with the stock wheels. Just gives you that little bit more, especially for the doing the constant wheel stands like I like to do. Takes a little bit of less load off the motor, and yeah, gives you a bit more response. The other thing, it actually doesn't get rid of, I would say, no top end compared to the stock sprocket. Me and Jared actually drag raced and I passed him. The other reason I passed him because I hucked down and got a bit of wind going over the head, but he was in front. I basically just hucked down and I went on past. So there'd be very minimal top end difference going with the big sprocket. It just adds a little bit of bottom end poke, and it's definitely a nice upgrade for the stock bike. Not overly needed when you start to modify the bike, but it's nice knowing that it's taking a bit of stress off the motor because the motor doesn't have to try as hard to spin the rear wheel. Right, we'll now get on to the fun modifications, and the first thing is this 72 volt battery, eBMX 72 volt battery. Reason for that is I cook 2 Sur Ron batteries and I get 12 kilowatt. Good stuff. Right, back 4000. Down there, right, that's what's delivering the power from the battery to the motor. Why not back 8000? Why did you go for the 4000? Right, I've got a few reasons for this, right? A little bit controversial, but this is my opinion. I've got a couple of reasons, right? The first reason is, for my body weight, 420 phase amps, absolutely plenty. Absolutely plenty, right? 12 kilowatt, absolutely plenty. The back 4000, in our opinion, matches the motor better. The 8000, you start pumping too much power into that motor and you're going to cook it. 12 kilowatts, in our opinion, is the max before you're just going to be overheating the motor. The only reason I could see the 8000 being a good option is for cooling, right? If you're in a place where it's really hot all the time and you want to ride your bike hard, I feel like you'll be, I don't know, I feel like you'll be overheating the back 4000 more. So maybe the 8000 would be better because it's a bigger controller, can handle more, the cooling capacity is bigger, right? That's where I consider an 8000, right? But for somewhere like Tassie, it don't get overly hot. Back 4000 is plenty, right? And yeah, that's really about it. We can get into the smaller things. So the Protaper grips on here, they're pretty much the same as the stock grips. They feel good. I just put them on next to stock grips for stuffed. Got this headlight in the front. This needs to go soon because it's actually water damaged. Only reason I swapped that out is because it looks better. As I said, I like my stuff to look good. I don't like the look of stock headlight. So that got put on there. Oh, pegs, the other thing. These motocross pegs. Couldn't tell you what they are, but they're motocross pegs. That I basically hit with the grinder, modified them a bit to get them to work. They're red, so they look good. That's really about all I have to say about me bike. I've got a mad little mud guard on there as well. Probably don't need to talk about that too much. That's about it. I'll go now. I'll let you go. Continue on with whatever you're doing. Enjoy.